I never played Street Fighter on Genesis, so I never knew about that. That would make it a lot harder, though.
Yeah. It was just one of those ones, like, I think about, it's sort of like they did, because it's like, I guess they're like, well, shit, there's going to be some fuck out there who only has, you know, a 3-button controller, so I guess we got to make it work for them, and if they're playing Street Fighter 2, well, whatever, I guess, what's the workaround on it? Well, press start, you can do the punch attacks, press start again, you can do the kick attacks and go back. And you know there's got to be somebody who really mastered that, just some poor bastard kid, just, you know, the jerk-off Johnny, who that's all he had was the 3-button controller in Street Fighter 2 and just decided that, like, you know what, I'm going to master it on Sega Genesis, I'm going to become the ultimate, like, pro of that controller.
That's the only way you can do it. Yeah, like, well, there's either that or Pac-Man 2. So.
Pac-Man 2, the new adventures.
Yeah.
You're gonna follow Pac-Man around and like shoot him so he goes the right direction. Like, goddamn, fucking Pac-Man, walk the other way, you son of a bitch! Don't walk towards the death zone.
I remember playing. It's not the same exact thing, kind of similar. I remember playing the Rocco's Modern Life game and just running through it. And like, yeah, okay, this game's pretty easy. This is fun. And then just like losing something. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, oh, I have to clear a path for Snoopy. Or Snoopy,
what's his name?
Spunky.
Spunky, yeah.
I have to keep Spunky alive. God damn it, that's what this game is? I have to keep the dog from dying? Alright.
Now, I can't remember, in the Rocco's Modern Life one, did you literally control Rocco, or was it literally like...
You controlled Rocco, but the dog was always just walking, and you had to, like, clear a path for the dog.
See, that was just... Because I think that's like the Toy Story game had like that, too, where you had to, like, clear that path for Rex at one point. Where he just keeps running into shit, just like.
Yeah, at a point like you ride him like Yoshi.
Yeah, then there's that. Well, that's after you free him after that thing. But like that must be just that thing at some point. They're like, you know what? Let's put obstacles in the way. And there's just somebody just aimlessly walking like a moron. Like, you know, that Lemmings game was popular, and aimlessly walking was, you know, the sole like main thing of that game.
That was also that was just that was the whole thing of Rocco. It wasn't like one level. The whole level was like you have to get to the level, survive, and make sure your dog survives.
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering if it was like the Pac-Man one where you because that one you just got like a slingshot and you got to like guide Pac. It's like the most bizarre thing to think about. Like, hey, you know Pac-Man? Like, what if he was kind of like a storybook adventure, except for you have to like sort of like show him the way as like the great observer.
And shoot him.
And shoot him when he like fucks up. But
God damn it, he killed how many ghosts and he's still fucking up? He just can't make his way to the goddamn store.
You can't get there and so on. You know, just gotta get him through this goddamn adventure, give him the mine cart, give him all that stuff. I haven't played that one in a while, but I remember putting some time into that game back in the day, but...
God damn it, Pac-Man, no wonder your wife is leaving you and doing her own game.
This
fucking like, hapless.
That was like the Pac-Man 2 storyline was like, oh, you know, Pac-Man and his wife are getting a divorce, but Pac-Man thinks he can get back together, and you gotta help him. You're his wingman.
No, dude, just the other way. Fuck.
Come on, man. Like, no, don't eat the fucking fruit that fell on the ground. Shit, you're Pac-Man. Have some fucking dignity. You know what I mean? Like, at one point in time, you were the #1 video game guy. People can't be seeing you eating off the street like some kind of hobo.
Just breaks down. Like, I'm sorry, I'm lost. I don't know what happened. Fuck.
You just find like Pac-Man just keeps stumbling him back into a bar, drowned his sorrows.
Like you have to shoot at him to get away from the bar. Like no, other way.
Commercial.
That's all I remember. I remember you had to shoot at him and shoot at other things to get out of the way. I don't remember the rest of the details. Like, so I can't make a joke about like, oh, that's where this villain then does this. I just remember shooting him too much to the point where he cried and fell over.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You can literally bully him. It was like the bully simulator game.
Like he just would basically go down to his knees, like I want to go home. Like yeah, well you don't know to fucking get there without me. Now quit crying like a bitch. Get up on your feet like a man and go get your woman back.
I just picture Pac-Man sitting in that bar and so on. The commercial for Sonic 3 comes on the TV. He throws the beer at the screen, just shatters it like, fuck you, man! Fuck you! That was me! It was fucking me! Before you came here, you had nothing!
He has his kids over for the weekend. They come in with like a fucking Game Boy. They're playing Mario Land.
Yeah, just like...
Starts beating his kids and he just like loses custody again.
Just one of those ones. Just like Pac-Man's trying to get back on his feet again, but shit just keeps getting in the way. It's up to you now as the player and bully to make sure he gets there.
Super Smash Brothers is his comeback tour.
That's the one where like Mario and Sonic, but where like Mario comes up, be like, "Okay, Pac-Man, let's see, we got a job for you here, but no drugs, no alcohol, you know. So I'm giving you a chance. That's just what I'm saying, you know."
That's why, like, at some point, fucking, like, Captain Falcon, like in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood book, Brad Pitt gives that one washed-up actor alcohol. The one thing that dude, Captain Falcon's like, I just want to see what's gonna happen. Just slides in the room. Like,
yeah, I know. Everybody says not to do this, and it's literally in our contract. It's like the second rule in there. Literally, I probably will just get a slap on the wrist for walking off with the camera full of footage, but God forbid if I give that alcohol to. But yeah.
Or Sonic gives it to him, like, they have to catch me first, and like runs out the door.
Exactly, but I guess leading in with Smash Brothers, we get to a sort of like a Smash Brothers, but a Smash Brothers of Warner Brothers and the new Space Jam 2.
Oh, yeah, we recorded this whole time. Shit. I should have figured. Yeah, Space Jam 2. This would probably be maybe a few years, the whole Pac-Man 2 thing, probably a few years before the original Space Jam. Space Jam New Legacy. Before we go too far into this, this is still Space Jam related. Anybody who doesn't know, look up Meat Canyon. He has his own show called Monster Lab, which is pretty good. And he does a lot of dark, demented parodies. He has a great one that got taken down by Warner Brothers called Wabbit Season, where Bugs Bunny, it's basically like Deliverance, but with the Wabbit Season, whole parody thing. It's hilarious. I mean, it got taken down, but someone re-uploaded it. Check that out. And then check the new one that just dropped today, which is the new version of it, but Space Jam themed. That's all I'll say. That dude, it's demented, but it's funny as fuck.
Oh yeah, no, that thing's hilarious and so on. I mean, those are those ones like you looked at, you go like, I mean, I see why Warner Brothers would probably be like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's parody. It's parody.
Yeah,
what can I say?
It's weird. Yeah, it's parody, and then there's that weird, I don't know, it's that weird old YouTube thing of that, like, oh, but the sponsors and the advertisers, oh, geez.
Yeah, watch it before it gets taken down.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you got. You got a momentary on it. It's like limited release or something. But yeah, going into Space Jam and coming off of good old Space Jam legacy, and I know that we've talked about Space Jam 1. I think it was good old...
Two or 3 years back.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years back. A couple hundred episodes back, seems like, maybe, somewhere around there. But we talked about that before, and that's always one of those big, like, if you're a kid of the 90s, Space Jam really is, I think, one of those top-tier ones. I mean, I don't know, some kids. I take that back, because I remember doing that one podcast before where... shit, I'm a blank around this title right now, but so I Married a Movie Geek one. They had like their movie countdown, like list, challenge, battle, whatever, and so on. And sometimes I always just feel like I get invited back on there just to be the laughing stock, I guess, because I think they just know that I'll choose movies that nobody else would choose. I know because like Wes of Via VHS says when he goes on there, he goes to win and so on like that. I go, no, I go on there because, well, I don't know why.
You gotta speak the truth.
I gotta speak the truth of what I like. You know what I mean? I want to bring attention to other movies and so on. And I remember when I was on the 1995 one, and like I was like, shit, somebody's gonna take Space Jam. You know what I mean? Like I was so afraid someone's gonna take it, so I threw it down for my first pick, and everybody looked at me like I was crazy. And I was one of those ones like I was just afraid someone else was gonna take it, so that's why I said it right off the bat.
Now here's the thing with Space Jam. It was one of my favorite movies as a kid, and looking back on it, I like the movie. It's an enjoyable movie. If I'm being 100% honest, let's not lie. The thing's an ad to sell Big Macs, toys, and Nikes. Yeah. That's what it's all there for. But at the same time, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
They didn't need any help with that in '95, but why not?
Sure. It sure wasn't selling Looney Tunes products, really. That just kind of happened to be like, hey, these characters that we haven't really used a whole lot in a long while?
I felt like it was because that's when Looney Tunes were circulating again, and I think they were playing. I don't know if they were playing all at the same time, but I remember at some point in time they were playing on Cartoon Network. they were playing on Kids WB, and they were playing on Nickelodeon. And so they were in heavy syndication back then. So you were watching a lot of these old, like, 40s to 60s Looney Tune cartoons. And so kids were fully aware of, like, Bugs Bunny and all that. By this point, I think they're aware of it, but it's not as big of a deal as it was when we were growing up. And plus we had our parents over our shoulder like, yeah, I don't get this Captain Planet shit, but I trust Bugs Bunny, you know? So,
yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know, that Captain Planet kid once my son came to me and said, I want a recycle bin outside the house. I'm like, I'm not paying any extra for that. Dad, it's free. They actually give us money back. Oh, no, that's what they tell you.
Next thing, yeah, I don't trust this thing. These fucking Democrats. He's gonna turn my kid's gonna paint himself blue, walking around in the crop top, saying, the power is yours. Like,
No. You put a recycle bin out, next thing you know, you got a bunch of hippies outside smoking weed next to it.
It's gonna be Woodstock all over again.
Dad, you were at Woodstock. Yeah, they'll listen to music. I didn't know there was gonna be all kinds of other shit going on. I was just there to see Jimmy play guitar. Shit, what was everybody else there for?
So... Basically.
But it is that kind of thing where the weird thing is, like, because in the 90s, like, that's that one time period because we had so many of those channels that played old TV. I think because it was just, like, right when everybody could kind of either afford cable/satellite, and we just got this, like, ginormous, like, amount of channels just started appearing, you know. I mean, I felt like there was more channels in the 90s than there was, you know, in the last 20 years. Like, it just felt like there was so much random shit you would find on, especially if you had, like, satellite and so on like that, too. And, that was when they just started playing a lot of older stuff, in a sense. 'Cause, you know, you had Cartoon Network, which you didn't really realize, that, like, as a kid, but it was like, oh, that pretty much was, like, the Hanna-Barbera, you know, classics collection, and we got a couple of new things to throw on there, like Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls and so on. You know, Nickelodeon would be playing some older cartoons. You had things like TV Land playing old stuff, so I felt like you as a kid, I don't know, I just remember in the 90s, that, like, I watched a lot of, like, 50s, 60s, 70s, and, like, you know, 80s stuff that just kind of filtered in, you know, all that kind of stuff, whether it be sitcoms, cartoons, and so on. So I felt like almost like in the capsule of, like, television. Like, in the 90s, you almost had the full spectrum, which I just don't think you have as a kid nowadays. I mean, granted, yeah, you could just go look it up, but no kid's just going to flip on Bewitched right now or something like that. You know what I mean? But, like, back in the day when you're just kind of, like, watching TV and Bewitched comes on next, you're like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm watching this. Oh, cool, you know, Honeymooners, whatnot. Oh, hey, here we go, here's the original Johnny Quest. You know, oh, they're going to pull it off Cartoon Network? Those sons of bitches.
Yeah, exactly. It was not a big thing, and now I think people, I mean, if you go far enough back, I mean, they weren't playing as much like 1920s rubber hose style animations, but it wasn't a big deal to watch, you know, something from the 60s or 70s, and
yeah.
I kind of for a period, I probably grew up more on retro cartoons than I did like modern cartoons for a minute.
Well, I mean, even like those, I was going to say, even Betty Boop and Popeye and all that stuff still circulated quite a bit, too. So you did have a lot of that Fleischer, you know, studios.
I just don't remember. I remember like a little bit of Betty Boop. I remember like updated versions of Popeye. There was like, I remember seeing a couple random old Popeyes here and there, but I remember like there's like new updated Popeye. There's the one where it's just like, I live on a fucking island and I got a kid. You know, like, oh, where'd this come from?
Yeah, I remember that. Forgot about that show.
Yeah, and the kid looked nothing like Popeye, nothing like Olive Oil. Like, I won it in a game of cards with Pluto, you know? So.
Yeah, that's probably how it is. I feel like Popeye wouldn't have exactly a kid. He would just find a kid.
And then I think Pluto
somewhere
had
on the
some
street
shitty
or something
kid,
like that.
too. Which was probably like one of his illegitimate children. He's like, I can't take this thing. Oh, you beat me in a game of cards. Yeah, fucking take it. Cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Look, Olive, we got a kid now. Fuck. All right, Popeye, just throw it. I guess we can make the closet into a bedroom.
I go, yeah, you know, I forgot, you know, because of your buddy, the Hamburg Man, or whatever. What was that guy's name? The guy was always eating. The guy was always eating hamburgers, okay. And so I always had the Hamburger, but I'm like, wait, so that's McDonald's.
I forgot his name. Like, he was just a... Yeah. I remember a Robot Chicken sketch where he was sucking someone's dick for hamburgers, but I don't remember. I don't remember like his actual name.
He really did like those hamburgers and so on, but yeah, no, I mean, I think there was just that time period where just like, I mean, even like Disney Channel back in the day, you would watch all like the classics and so on. And once again, I'm not saying that they exist nowadays. I just think you have too much choices that the average person's not gonna just watch. I guess because it's that thing. you know, I mean, you wouldn't really go back, but like in time, I guess, to this style. But in a sense, like when you were just kind of watching whatever just came on next, kind of like made you watch things that maybe you wouldn't gravitate to on your own. But since they just kind of came on, you found out that you actually kind of, oh, this is cool. I like this.
Yeah, like, oh, maybe I do like Magilla Gorilla. Or,
Yeah. Or Grape Ape.
Grape, yeah. Like those the Hanna-Barbera cartoons that Hanna-Barbera thought they owned, forgot they owned,
Yeah, the Wacky Racers,
Which you see those in the background of Space Jam too.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing I will say about, like, I literally, like, towards the end when they're doing the basketball game, I kid you not, I was more distracted looking in the background than anything else because they just had, like, deep cuts galore in there. I mean, realistically, this movie is almost one of those ones, it's made that, like, a kid could watch it, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's literally just made for the Space Jam 1 audience member, and then if you happen to have a kid, you could sit them in front of it, too.
Now,
if you happen to be like Popeye and you've just won a kid in like a card game, you could sit in front of
game of Russian roulette, maybe. Who knows what it was?
Yeah, exactly. You could sit him in front of Space Jam too.
Long hours of the dock do something to a man. What was I gonna say? All right. So before we go into like the plot and all that kind of stuff, any potential spoilers. Let's just get this thing out of the way. I liked the movie. I wasn't blown away by it. I liked it. Mm-hmm. I think that even though they're trying to make it for our generation and also for a kid to watch it, at the exact same time, I feel like it's some ways trying a little too hard, other ways not trying hard enough. And I'll make examples of that later. But the thing is, people are being way too fucking harsh on this movie.
Are they?
There's so many fucking
I don't see the...
There's so many...
I don't look for the negative stuff out there in life anymore, so I don't see it. It's kind of weird.
I don't look for it, but I'll like be looking up things for Space Jam 2. And, I just see like headlines and tags and, I watched Double Toasted and they were kind of like, it was enjoyable. Wasn't perfect, it was enjoyable, but they were referencing other critics, what they're saying about it. And I looked that up and Ebert, not Roger Ebert, Roper, the guy that came after Siskel.
Oh, yeah.
He said this is one of the worst movies ever seen, and I never want to see anything like it again. And you see all these different, like, I just see thumbnails of just like worst thing ever, worst movie. How could they do this? I'm like, this is nothing but an ad for HBO Max, and I'm like, well, you're right that it is a big ad for HBO Max, but at the end of the day, Space Jam was a big ad for Looney Tunes, Bulls tickets, Nikes, Big Macs, and Warner Brothers toys.
Yeah, and Bill Murray.
That's why that movie was made. And Bill Murray. Yeah. Okay. That's literally what that movie was there to do, and we just happened to be there at the right age and kind of like the jokes and being a Michael Jordan,
Yeah, well, because I'll say this, like, in watching this movie, I pretty much actually enjoyed it quite well. I mean, like, you are kind of, I knew what I was kind of getting into, maybe. I guess some people, I think, I don't know, some people just lose touch on, like, what, you would think that, like, if you are a critic, you should be, like, somewhat well-educated, but sometimes I think those people almost, I mean, once again, let's be honest, anybody can get that kind of job. It doesn't really take a whole lot of talent, but, I think it is one of those things that, like, as long as you kind of know what you're getting into and so on, like, I mean, I looked at that movie, I'm like, you know what, I'd say this, I think it's just as good as the original one. I mean, it's definitely, there's the nostalgia factor, of course, for Space Jam 1, you know what I mean? But, like, even when that movie came out, that's that one that, like, if you were, like, the kid and you were really into, all those, if you were into Looney Tunes and Michael Jordan and, Bill Murray, you just loved the living daylights out of that movie and so on like that. And Larry Bird, that's the other big thing in there. And then it's like, I feel that that's sort of like what this movie kind of is as well, too, is just like one of those ones where it's, if you're just a kid who's into basketball and you're into LeBron James and you heard about these Looney Tunes, maybe you are in these Looney Tunes, I don't know. I like to assume that you had, like, parents that actually well-educated you and so on in, like, the classic arts of cartooning. But, and then also just touching on other Warner Brothers things, it's like that doesn't really kind of bother me because Looney Tunes was always such like they always kind of exposed, hey, we're at the Warner Brothers studio, hey, we kind of like have these like fourth wall breaking jokes and so on like that. So why would it be any different? Kind of, it's just sort of a modern version of doing what the Looney Tunes and kind of generally Warner Brothers cartoons in general always have been. I mean, look at the Animaniacs; they fucking live at Warner Brothers. Like nobody questioned that.
Yeah, and the thing with it is, I don't mind that this is just kind of a bunch of, like, Warner Brothers jokes, because people were like rolling their eyes a lot of it. There's a couple that fall flat, you know, when they're hopping to different Warner Brothers movies to grab characters. Some of those really work. Some of them just fell flat. But the concept, I guess here's the big thing between, let's compare Space Jam 1 to Space Jam 2.
Mm-hmm.
Space Jam 1, well, let me just say this. Space Jam 2 really probably is a better movie. Just because narratively, it makes more sense. They have a little bit more explanation for things. There's more of a hint of a little bit more of kind of drama in certain aspects that you wouldn't even expect there to be. So it's probably a better movie. I guess my nostalgia is still tilting towards number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But number 2, when you break it down, it probably is more of a better movie.
Yeah, I would totally agree too.
But the other thing on top of that, though, is this has been one of those movies, kind of like the first one that comes to mind that did it in this way was Roger Rabbit, which is we're making an homage to a particular genre. Look for all the little Easter eggs and characters in the background. You know, that was the first one to do it. The first big one to do it, I think.
There's always probably somebody else out there who did it that just doesn't get any credit.
Like a TV special from the 60s or a PSA about don't smoking or something like that. But I mean...
is that dope smoking? Like, is that Speedy in the background there? Got some deep cuts
Hey,
going.
bro, put down the cigarette! You'll die fast!
I love how it was that Speedy. Like, the Speedy I was thinking of was Speedy from Green Arrow.
Oh.
But we played, like, the Speedy and Speedy PSA.
One's like addicted to heroin, one's addicted to like fucking meth. Like, how do you stay fast, bro? Come on.
But
so one second, I gotta go in that bed. I gotta go back in the men's room. but the thing with it though is like, because you look at the like Space Jam 1, it's not really so much that. Space Jam 1 is Michael Jordan Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
This one, it's by this point we've had Ready Player One, we've had the Lego Movie, for better or worse, Wreck-It Ralph 1, Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Yeah.
And like watching this, I'm like, you know, Warner Brothers, you guys have already put out like 2 or 3 movies that did this whole thing better. Ready Player One, Lego Movie, and Lego Batman. You know, you already have like 3 movies. Maybe there's another one in there that I'm
there's
forgetting.
the Lego Ninjutsu. Was it Ninjago?
Well, that one's more of
that one's more
Lego.
It's itself, but I mean it's like in that similar vein, I guess. But I guess it's not doing the crossover thing. Maybe can't remember.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I mean more like crossover franchises, Easter egg hunt kind of stuff. So
they got Mortal Kombat versus DC.
Yeah, I guess they got that too. Yeah. So I guess the idea of like this movie does not do it as good as those movies, which seems kind of weird. You think they would have had a better idea how to go about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Lego Movie is almost one of those ones that you would never think that would be almost like pretty much like a perfect comedy. It strangely, is that, but I guess the Space Jam, it's still kind of. I mean, yeah, it's not. I don't feel like it's necessarily going to be like, hey, we're trying to make the greatest fucking like comedy ever, or like we're really gonna raise the bar and so on. It comes out as a solid, just fun, entertaining movie, and then it even surprised me even more than I kind of thought, because like I will say, like, one thing I did like about it a lot is there was actually a lot of 2D animation in it, because I just thought that was gonna be like a quick, like they're gonna be in 2D for like 5 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is all gonna be CG and so on like that, or 3D CG. And it stays in 2D for actually quite a long time. And that actually kind of impressed me quite a bit.
Yeah, I assumed he'd just be there for a minute and bounce out. But yeah, they like a third of the movie is in 2D animation.
Yeah, I would almost even say, well, I was to say because there's live action too. I was gonna say probably like 1/3 live action, 1/3 2D, and then 1/3 3D. I guess that basketball game's kind of long in this one.
And the whole thing though with Well, the whole thing I was making is I'm not expecting, like, well, I did not see Ron Weasley in the background. Well, I didn't see whatever in the background. Nothing like that. I just mean I feel like they kind of utilize the stuff better in those other movies. Mm-hmm. And there's moments where, because, at some point it becomes kind of like, I guess it's on the mind, because I've just been listening to a lot of stuff about Seven Samurai and Akira Kurosawa, but it almost becomes like kind of like Seven Samurai for a second because we got to go get the team, we got to get the gang back together. And,
it literally becomes seven. I didn't even think about that, but you're like, that's so true. It is totally seven. Magnificent Seven, all that stuff.
Like, what was your big inspiration for this movie? Well, of course, the original Space Jam. We were looking to make references to other sports comedies. Seven Samurai. What was the last one? Seven Samurai. Anyway.
We're going to have a Akira Kurosawa, flair to this movie.
It was really important for us to get the Herculoids in the background along with Lino. Yeah.
Well, that made, when I saw the Hercules, that really did. Because it's like those small things like that. Because those are like characters. I mean, even the part where Space Ghost just flies and you just kind of buy and you're like, dude, there's fucking Space Ghost in a movie. Like, we're getting somewhere. But this is actually one thing I will say that's actually, I think, kind of positive, really, towards the movie, is because I felt like this is one of those ones that they could have done the thing where it's because they're using all the Warner Brothers characters that they could have been like, okay, well, we're getting the team back together. Let's just use Bugs and let's just use Lola, and the rest of the Looney Tunes can kind of be there, but let's not have them be on the team. Let's put we'll put Ron Weasley on the team. We'll get we'll get Batman on the team because Batman sells. You know what I mean? Like, and they could have just went down the list and sort of we'll put just different Warner Brothers ones, and so we'll have Morpheus on the team. You know what I mean? Things like that. But I'm actually kind of glad that they just said, no, the team's still Looney Tunes. That's still our main characters. The other things are just going to be sort of background type stuff. And I think that's kind of good because that, Looney Tunes sort of needs always that kind of like, to be sort of kind of like said over and over. It's like Freddy Krueger. If you don't say the Looney Tunes anymore, they might disappear.
Yeah. Well, I they didn't really beat it over the head, but they kind of made a few references to it, and I was hoping they'd reference it more. When he lands there, because the whole thing is the algorithm that's played by Don Cheadle, it's a super AI, this and that, pulls him into the world after he refuses the whole thing of jumping it, like digitally scanning him and putting him into movies. The whole thing with that is they're like, we're going to just send you to the rejects. We're sending you to the Looney Tunes. No one gives a shit about the Looney Tunes anymore. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was kind of like, because, they have their place in animation and film history, but if you think about it, their shows kind of come and go pretty quickly. I was actually not too long ago, but before watching this movie, I went on HBO Max and was watching that Looney Tunes show that came out probably, I think, like 5 or 6 years ago.
The sitcom one?
The sitcom one, where it's like they all basically live in the same town. It's a little bit more grounded. I mean, they still have some of the hijinks, but it's a little bit more of a... It's actually a lot of spoken comedy, and it was actually really funny. It was, what I saw was pretty good. I mean, they'd have like a little short, which in between the episode, where it's a little musical bit, which was kind of whatever. But the show itself was really funny and pretty well written. But aside from that, though, you don't see the Looney Tunes popping up a lot. It's like they're back and they're gone,
Yeah, because, really, at the end of the day, the last big thing of Looney Tunes was Space Jam 1. Because, it's like they've tried other stuff. There's the Looney Tunes Back in Action with Brendan Fraser, and there's, the handful of random shows that kind of come out, or things that are sort of tied in. But, that was the biggest time, was when there was, mixed match of Tiny Toons, old Looney Tunes, Space Jam, and then past that point, it kind of sort of filtered out. And, I think also once anime kind of took over, that kind of really, once that was really allowed in the West, it kind of like pushed out a lot of the American cartoons even further. I agree that at the end of the day, there's only so much screen time anyone can kind of hold. So I think that kind of had something to do with it.
Well, also the idea of it being, by this point, cartoons are still popular. People still like cartoons. But even if you look at a lot of kids' cartoons now, it's not about the... it's almost kind of meme humor. It's not like someone gets ran over by a car and they're flat and they blow themselves back up. It's more of like just kind of random kind of humor, very quick. I mean, it varies, to very different degrees. Like whatchamacallit, Gravity Falls is a pretty smart show, pretty witty, and it has a little bit of heart here and there. But then you get other shows that are just a little bit more of just like, they're as equally as wacky as Looney Tunes, but not in the slapsticky kind of way.
Yeah, it's just like, it's like that kind of like, granted, like, yeah, it's weird how like the Looney Tunes could pull off the slapsticky so hard and works really well. Like Nickelodeon in the 90s had shows that kind of carried that kind of style and, over the top weirdness and so on. But But yeah, as I said, just kind of fade, and that's even just kind of the interesting in the movie. It kind of almost just sort of says like, "Hey, here's Looney Tunes at the bottom of the barrel of the thing that was once king of Warner Brothers is at the low end of the totem pole with all like the franchises that they've sort of bought up and so on, and kind of acknowledging that is a neat thing to go about it, And I guess, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. My bad. I liked how they kind of brought across, because when he got dropped down to Toon World, how Bugs was the only one there. And he says, well, I wish they kind of went into this a little bit more, but they kind of hint at it here and there. He says, like, well, they thought that we'd be more marketable in other things. I'm the only one that stayed. And they don't really play. I'm not that I'm expecting him to, like, not that I'm expecting to, like, show Bugs, like, in a room by himself, playing Russian roulette by himself, or anything like that. It's just a little, like,
it's just like what they should have had that Bruce Springsteen song from the wrestler playing in the background. If you ever seen a one-trick pony, then you've seen me. You've seen me. Just going on.
Is it wabbit season? You seen me?
Just be like one of those...
In a dress making out with a hunter, you seen me?
Is that's almost sort of like what it is, like he knows, he's like, I don't belong in that other part of the world and so on, like that, Everybody else thinks that they can get a job here and there and whatnot, but Bugs Bunny, that's all he knows and so on. And I guess I say go a little bit farther back is like kind of how we get the whole, like how they get sucked into like the computer verse and so on. And I feel like that's one of those ones, like to me, like that kind of makes sense because nowadays, where do you store, you don't have film or anything like that anymore generally. You store it all like on computers. It's all digitally backed up, whether it be films or digital movies and video games and so on. So it seems like they go in there, but I guess it's like you kind of get this it starts off almost like, this sounds so weird, but the movie is almost like plays out like Hook as well too. That's what I was sort of thinking.
I think that's a good example.
It's totally like, almost like, the archetype of like Disney dad, and he just can't really, he's so busy working so hard and stuff. He doesn't really like, well, he has one kid who just is totally like, yeah, I'm totally, dad does everything for us. Like, I don't know what you're complaining about. And then there's the other son, which is, I guess, our other main character. And, dad just wants him to be a basketball player and just be like, you're not following the family tradition. He's like, when I was 12 years old in 1998, like, I had a friend that slipped me a Game Boy in like a brown paper bag. And for one glorious minute, I went outside and shot up some Looney Tunes action on there in black and white, enjoyment. My coach caught me, beat the shit out of me, threw my Game Boy away, told me I was going to be a fucking failure if I keep up this electronic garbage. I better get out on the court and start fucking shooting some hoops, and that's what I did. And that's how you get this estate today. It's one of those ones where that does start off, though. It almost has that feeling like, yo, kids, put the fucking shit down and go out and start being a man and start, playing sports.
Well, the way it kind of went right there, and I guess because the whole thing is like, you got raw talent. You can get out of here. You could like do so much for your family with your abilities, this and that. And then I'm like, that's a lot of shit to pack onto a 9-year-old kid right there.
Yeah, exactly.
If you find yourself sucking dick for batteries to play that Game Boy later in life, it's your fault. No one else is. Like, oh shit, all right, And then but that being said, you kind of get like where where LeBron is kind of coming from, because at a young age he got that drilled into him, and now his his middle kid is like, oh yeah, I want to play video games. I want to make video games. I like basketball fine, but I want to make video games. Like, what? And then like you sort of get why it stems from that, why it comes from. It's not like his son's like making video games. His dad just like kicks down the door. Like, what are you doing? Did I hear a keyboard?
Yeah, like all those ones. That better be dribbling in there. Well, I think that's the funny thing too, because the kid's like making a game, and I mean, like the kid literally has like he's got like the Richie Rich fucking setup of like shit, you know what I mean? He's got like the supercomputer, and he's got the phone that scans in like objects in the 3D. He's got all the fucking bells and whistles because his dad's LeBron. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
his dad has more money than pretty much almost anybody else out there. Only Bill Gates' kid could probably have more stuff. Bill Gates' kid's probably out there like dribbling balls, and Bill's like, you want to be dribbling balls? Shouldn't you be, pounding the keyboard there and doing some programming like your old man did? Shut up, Dad. throws the basketball in his face, breaks his glasses. Ow, son, that hurts. Yeah, what are you going to do about it? Throws it again.
does it again, bounces off his face, goes into the basket. Oh, look at that!
Yeah, Dad, walk away. Go back to your computer store. Yeah.
Microsoft Store one day will beat the Apple Store. Just you wait and see. Yeah, whatever, Dad.
Yeah. But yeah, that's like, the kid's got, so he's got everything, you know what I mean? He's almost like, ultra rich kid. I mean, for some reason, it kind of works more than like, because, another movie should be like, fuck that kid. Thinks he's so much better than all of us. He didn't have to work for any of that stuff.
His dad really, like, fucking rips into him at the very beginning for, like, while he's waiting for his turn on their own personal court, he's just sitting there playing his video game. Like, the fuck is this? Like, he just found, like, a needle and a spoon, So.
Well, I think the funny thing too is, like, this is what I thought was just kind of weird movie-wise. Okay, in the beginning, like, LeBron in 1998 has a literal, like, old school Game Boy brick one, like that, and so on. But then in the future, we get there, like, his son's like playing like some Chinese knockoff system, and it's spelled Wii with WEE.
I didn't even notice that. I assumed it was like a phone with like a attachment or something.
No. It was just like something like it was just one of those ones like, oh, we can't get, like, you would think because you have the Nintendo in the beginning, you could almost have the son playing a Switch or something like that, just for more. I mean, shit, it's a Space Jam movie. I expect product placement.
Yeah, I get you. At the same time, though, I mean,
they literally just announced that fucking Steam console like only like the next day. They should have had that in there. That would have been the perfect timing for it. Like, where are we gonna release the Steam console? Let's go appear in Space Jam 2.
What if he's like playing like Tommy Tellerico's fucking like streaming service or whatever the fuck that thing is?
Tommy paid a lot of money for this and so on. But yeah, there's like the dad catches like, oh, that kid's fucking playing games and whatnot. Like, what the fuck's wrong with that boy of mine? That boy ain't right.
God damn it! Like, he's just out there with like, I wish I knew basketball, but he's out there with like three other players. Like, God damn, I'm trying to get that boy to stop playing them video games, but just like in like this hall, like in this back alley of the yards with all these other Hollywood mansions.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know, because all my basketball references all come from the '90s. It's all.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's
no,
generally all tied
Pippen.
to Space Jam. Is like how my knowledge comes.
I feel like watching the Last Dance documentary pushed it up a little bit more, but that's still in Space Jam territory.
Yeah, it's still 80s, 90s. It's still like Larry Bird and Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley, all those kind of guys. But yeah, so then like the kids, he does he's making a game, which I will say this though, like the kid's making a game, he's making this basketball one, but it's like I'm looking at this, I'm like, yo, kid, I know you're probably too young to know this, but you just literally ripped off NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Let's be honest.
I think it's also meant to be kind of like maybe a faint reference for people who grew up playing that game. Because I remember we had a Genesis. And I remember I didn't play NBA Jam that much, but my brother did. So I remember seeing that game a lot and seeing all the backflips. Like, oh, okay, they're doing like an NBA Jam kind of thing. And I remember, like, as a kid, thinking NBA Jam was just the name of the NBA.
Yeah.
As a little kid, for a minute. Then I saw Space Jam. Like, oh, it's just the NBA.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of those ones, because like in this game too that he's making, it's like it's got like bonus points. It's like it's one of those ones. It's not just normal basketball, kind of like how NBA Jam, but like in Tournament Edition NBA Jam, like on Sega Genesis or arcade or whatever you want to play it on, Super Nintendo, like that one has like a mode where you can set it up where you can have like special points that appear randomly on like the basketball court, where like you'll get more points if you shoot from here, or you'll get power ups and so on like that. I'm like, dude, that's literally what this kid's making. Like, if Midway was still around, it'd be funny at the end of the day. Midway kicks down the door at the very end and sues the whole family.
Only Warner Brothers. That's what they call Warner Brothers to buy
It's just
Midway.
LeBron and his family are just standing out in the street with nothing, and he just looks at his son. Just had to play those fucking video games. Cuts the credits. No
like
music.
The one Looney Tunes there, like, you still got us! Like, no laugh track, no nothing.
Like Sylvester's just fucking like doing some blow off like a trash can lid. Yeah, just like it goes through all this, like you think you get the family back and connect together, and then there's just this huge lawsuit at the end, just fucking devastates everything.
That's Space Jam 3. See, if you had to wait for the post-credit scene, initially it got taken out.
Yeah, exactly, one of those ones. But yeah, so it's that there, and father-son don't get along and so on. So once they get sucked into like the computerverse that Don Cheadle leads them all into, and whatnot. And then Don Cheadle literally becomes like Captain Hook and takes over the zone and be like, your father never respects you, you know what I mean? But me, I get you. I love computers. You love computers. Let's make a game together. You know, we'll work on your like game and we'll turn it into like, you know, a super profitable thing. We'll just scan in whoever you want and so on like that. Like, you don't gotta get their fucking permission. Just go up and scan random people.
That being said, first off, Don Cheadle, I mean, he's not playing it like a... he's not playing it like, haha, well, actually, he is like a little mustache twirly, but
yeah,
at the same time, he was really fun to watch. I thought he worked as a villain. I heard people saying, I have no idea what Don Cheadle was doing. Like, he's being a hammy villain. That's what I'm sorry, were you looking for like deep layers within Space Jam? He was like, I thought he works as a good villain. I mean, he always thought he was a fantastic actor. But
yeah,
in this movie,
I always liked Don Cheadle ever since seeing him in what's the porno one?
Boogie Nights.
Yeah, Boogie Nights. That's what I always think of this. It's the
cowboy
guy selling stereo equipment
for country music.
Yeah.
We don't want you playing that country shit no more. You know, that's where I got my years later. I got my personality scanned and dropped right here into this world, into this server right here, and I can play all the country music I want. I got a little bit of that vibe, a little bit of that like that character he was playing from that, just a little bit, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but no, I thought he was really fun. I felt like he chewed the scenery, and it all kind of worked well. I mean, I don't know, are people expecting like, do they want like maybe if you're like a real hardcore NBA fan, you want like I don't know another NBA player or somebody? I don't know what people really want in life. Sometimes I don't think they even know what they really want in life, but they just don't want whatever it is that's given to them.
I think that people, I'm not totally, because you know I liked the movie. I wasn't blown away, but I liked the movie.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to, you know, change my life or anything, but at the same time, I guess I mean, people don't regard Ready Player One as much, but like Ready Player One and Lego Movie, both, in my opinion, had a good amount of heart to them, and were really entertaining movies, even if you put aside the little like Easter egg hunt thing. So I guess with going in with that kind of mindset, because I guess something I was going to say earlier, there is a little, like the first Space Jam, there's a little bit of a lack of awareness. Because they're going in like, we're making a movie for kids. Let's not bullshit. This is a movie for kids. We're going to try and sell some shit. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then years later, people say, how'd this happen? That's such a weird, crazy, wacky... That sounds like an algorithm came up with the concept for a movie. You know? And then you see this comes out, and you're expecting it to be kind of like, all right, so we're going to do a little bit of meta, like 21 Jump Street kind of humor type thing, kind of like... But they don't do that. Not that I'm expecting to make dick jokes or anything like that through this movie, but expecting kind of like that, you know, film self-aware humor, especially since you're seeing all these references from like Clockwork Orange to It to Casablanca to like Mad Max, you know. So you're expecting a little bit more of like those references, but those references are there, but they're just more of kind of like there is a sketch and then moving on to the next thing. So I think people got let down of what this film could have been like I guess sort of like a light statement on film in the film industry maybe, but I'm not saying I was going in expecting that, but I feel maybe other people were, and that's why they're so disappointed.
Yeah, people are just fucking stupid sometimes. I don't know.
Better way to say it, yeah.
I mean, like literally, it's just one of those ones like, I don't know, like, you know, I mean, I think this is the difference is something like Ready Player One and the Lego Movie, like they don't have anything that they're really, I mean, Lego's been around as like toys, but they don't really have anything they're kind of like working. It's not like it's a sequel to anything. And I think that's what makes it kind of like easier to kind of, hey, it's like one, it's new and so on. I think this being a sequel, and I don't know, you know, yeah, as I said, like it's like setting the bar. They're making it out like this was fucking Citizen Kane or Citizen Kane 2 or something like that, you know. But yeah, I just think for what it is, it's like it's fun. It moves well, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you got the heart in there, you got the comedy and so on like that. I felt like the references, like, you know, kind of work in a way, like, they're in there, but they're not so overbearing. I mean, you do get kind of distracted when you look at that audience and so on like that, but at least the Looney Tunes still get their kind of good amount of time, you know? And even just some of the weird stuff. Like, I mean, I'll say this, I didn't expect there to be, like, a Mad Max live action scene in there.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the Casablanca scene. Like,
yeah, there's Casablanca land, like, you know what I mean? And it's just one of those ones where it's like, it's like the joke was even too. It's like, oh, you know, there's Sam the Piano Man. It's Yosemite Sam now. Okay, I got you.
Well, when they're hopping from like when they're doing the Magnificent Seven thing, they're hopping from universe to universe to grab people. I think majority of those worked. There was a few that were just kind of quick throwaways. Like the ones that I didn't think worked were the only one I think didn't really work that well was just the Matrix one. I just didn't think that one was that funny. And like I've seen a million of these like Matrix like parodies in the '90s. By this point, it almost felt like something.
I will say though, the one thing though is this is what I liked about it, though. It went with Matrix 2. It didn't go with Matrix 1. And I was like,
that was Matrix 1.
Wasn't it? I thought that was Matrix 2 where they find her.
No, Trinity at the computer with her hands up and the camera pans up and it's Granny. That's Matrix 1. That's like the beginning of Matrix.
Oh, is it? Okay. For some reason, I was thinking that was in the second one there. And that's why, at first I was going, oh shit, they're going to, like, that made me more excited when I saw that. Because I was like, they're doing a Matrix 2 scene? Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah.
That's not nearly as exciting then. Because that's the thing is, I would thought if they would have done that, and they would have pulled, like, from, like, we're not pulling from Matrix 1, we're going to pull from one of the other Matrix movies.
Yeah, I didn't see Seraph or like the Ghost Twins in the background. So
yeah.
Lost opportunity there.
I know exactly. But that would have won me over more if that was in there.
I really hope the Ghost Twins are back in Matrix 4. I really hope they're back. I thought they were cool right hand men. But anyway, Merovingian's back, so maybe. Yeah. Like Matrix, like the whole Matrix part didn't really do it for me. That almost felt to me like it was a Super Bowl commercial or something, kind of had sort of that vibe to it. Mm-hmm. But then the other ones, like I thought the Mad Max one was funny. They really took their time pushing the DC Universe and the Themyscira one.
Yeah, well, and that thing had that animation that they had in the Wonder Woman scene was just like one's like, oh, that animation was awesome. I'd like to see more of that.
And they had Rosario Dawson voicing Wonder Woman, which made me happy because, first off, she's probably cheaper than Gal Gadot. But the thing is, like, oh, you got the lady who voices, like, Wonder Woman and a bunch of the animated stuff.
Yeah, so it's like, that's kind of, like, interesting there and so on. And I think that's kind of a cool way to kind of have Lola Bunny. She's been off training as an Amazon. I'm like, that makes kind of sense. I'm like, that's kind of cool, I'll even say this with the Matrix one, just kind of going back to real quick. I know that, like, those Matrix parodies used to be, like, in full-fledged, but, like, we haven't really seen one of those parodies, though, in, like, it seems like almost, like, 15 years. 10, 15 years. So, it, like, you know what I mean? Like, Matrix isn't really referenced very often anymore.
Mm-hmm. So I guess reminding you're back in the late 90s,
yeah,
early 2000s.
And that's where I almost will kind of give it credit. Yeah, I know it might be kind of, like, using some of the generic stuff with, like, spinny camera kicks and so on like that, but, I will say just kind of having that in there at the same time when you really, I know Matrix 4 is kind of coming out there, but in a sense, I'll say this, a lot of kids probably going to watch this probably have no idea what the fuck Matrix is. You know what I mean? Like, that's might be, they might just be slightly past that movie's kind of like window of, when it kind of came out. I mean, even shit, the Mad Max one, even, I know it's Mad Max 4, but like, even still, like, that's one of those ones too, where it's like, oh shit, you're almost kind of making like, like the old people references there. It's almost like our parents' generation reference by this point.
Casablanca.
Yeah, I know. You got Casablanca. You got Casablanca.
Austin Powers.
Yeah, and even Austin Powers and so on like that. That one actually was kind of funny too, just because it's Elmer Fudd come out. Just,
it made perfect sense for it to be Elmer Fudd, but it caught me off guard for a second.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, so I'll give him credit for just kind of having just some surprising things in there and sort of utilizing, certain things and not just focusing on the big ones like, like the Game of Thrones and just the straight up, DC. And, like they're real big heavy hitters. King Kong was always kind of there and so on like that.
I'm not complaining, but I'm surprised Harry Potter didn't have a bigger presence.
I was actually kind of surprised, too. There's just like a moment, too, where like they go there and then LeBron, for some reason, LeBron's into Hufflepuff.
Yeah, you think he'd be like Gryffindor or something,
Yeah, or what's the other one? The one that like never gets any other credit, too, that doesn't sound stupid like Hufflepuff. The fourth one.
Ravenclaw?
Yeah, Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw, I know this because my girlfriend loves Harry Potter. Ravenclaw is more of like the scientists, the thinkers, it's like Hufflepuff is, well, you tried. that's
yeah, Hufflepuff's that's the guy sitting on the bench being like, oh, come on, guys, let's take a break now. I got some Mountain Dew in a 2-liter size. We could just share that, We don't need to run the mile.
That's Hufflepuff. Your best character from there is the guy who died in the 4th movie or 4th book, depending what your preference of media is. Then you got Gryffindor, which is basically like, we're the fucking jocks, we get shit done. And then you get Slytherin.
Yeah, Gryffindor's definitely the jocks and the preps almost, like,
Well, the biggest preps and like the rich kids and the snooty kids is Slytherin.
Well, yeah, that's all like the douchey kids though.
And then Ravenclaw is like, we like books.
Yeah.
Books and science, or magic science, however you want to go about it. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
there's no group for poor kids. Ron's the only exception, but he's just a legacy. That's the only reason why he's there.
You don't know what his dad had to do, all the strings he had to pull to get that many fucking kids into fucking Gryffindor. It's like, you don't understand. I'm scrubbing the toilet. I have 3 jobs, Ron. I'm scrubbing the toilets after night at the fucking like at the ministry.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those ones. Because that's what I always say about when I look at Harry Potter. I'm like, it's just a bunch of fucking rich kids running around. And Ron's like the only like relatable character to poor people, but he's just weird. He's like Flounder from Animal House. He's like sort of just the only reason he can get in is just because his family's just been going for so long.
Or he's like, or even like Flounder from like Little Mermaid. Like, the only reason we don't fucking kill you is my favorite daughter likes you. Otherwise, we'd be serving you as a fucking like fillet right now.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be a dish. But
yeah.
But yeah,
going back to this.
But yeah, they only use that kind of like very spare. It's probably weird because it's like it's one of those ones that like you would almost think, but maybe it's just like the Harry Potter thing. Maybe just like utilizing the characters almost costs too much. That it's almost just cheaper just to use just like the looks of stuff. You know what I mean? Because
you saw some like not Harry Potter himself, as far as I can tell.
That's I mean. There's no
some Quidditch kids in the background.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you didn't see, like, actual Harry Potter. You didn't see, like, you know what I mean? Like, the actual characters.
And, like, all the people in the crowd look like almost kind of like they're, like, people, like Comic-Con costumes almost, you know?
Yeah, because once it gets later on and stuff, I mean, you start seeing things. But, yeah, it just looks like, it's almost like, it looks like how, like, almost like people cosplaying, but almost like how you feel like when certain movies come out, like, why don't the characters just look like that? Like, the guy's actually wearing the real costume. Like, and that was just kind of the cool thing is you would see different sections. You see the Batman one, and it's like, not only did they have Batman, like, you know, regular Batman, but they had, like, hey, there's a 66 show. There's Batman 89. They even had Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Freeze in the audience.
They did, yeah. They had... There's the Clockwork Orange in the audience. I want to speak on something. I know I'm not the first to speak on this. You take Pepe Le Pew out because of Me Too. Okay. So the better replacement is Clockwork Orange?
Is that why Pepe Le Pew's taken out? Is because he's French?
The Me Too, they didn't want to like have a character running around being like a fucking date rapist, like doing all that shit, like Marie, woo, you know, just like they didn't want to do that, and they just put him over there, and like they got rid of him, but they still
that's
have
so weird.
a
It's
gang
like I
of
feel
rapists.
like you could literally just have like it's almost like one of those ones. It's so weird nowadays. It's almost like, okay, kids, don't flirt, like at all. Whatever you do, don't even speak to that woman. That's a woman. You don't speak to her. That's a boy. You don't speak to. It's almost like one of those ones like. Well, how are we supposed to interact with each other? You don't. You just one day we'll just get back to like old-fashioned ways, and parents will organize a wedding, and that's how it will be. None of this in-between stuff. We're trying to prevent all this stuff by going back to the olden times.
Well, at the same time, though, you literally have him, like, meeting a woman for the first time, like, my love, and, like, wraps his arms around her, like, kissing her, and she's like, get the fuck off me! So, I mean, I could look at it as a cartoon
French.
And just be like,
he's French.
It's what they do! It's how they do it over there!
Jesus Christ, you fucking racist people out there, motherfuckers, God.
I'm saying, like, I think...
Shit, at least Speedy Gonzalez was in there, but that's because the Mexicans actually said something, and they're like, yo, fuck you guys, we love Speedy.
He was funny in the, whatchamacallit, in the
movie?
The newer Looney Tunes show. There's an episode where Porky Pig and Daffy Duck go to Mexico, and Daffy Duck's like, it's Mexico, we can get away with whatever we want, you know? Just watch this. And he like takes that little white collar thing off his neck, and like, he's naked! Like, I'm streaking, what you gonna do about it? He's just in jail. And then like he's like on the phone, he's like, hey Speedy, like, do you know anybody here? You know? And he says, like, where are you at, man? He says, like, oh, I'm in this town of Mexico. Oh, my cousin lives there. 1 second. Boom. He just, like, sits there to bail him out.
Oh, that's a pretty good one right there. Is Pepe Le Pew in that show?
He is in that show.
See, that's so weird. It's just one of those ones. Just fucking French people can't be on TV anymore or some shit like that.
There's an episode where, like, Bugs and Lola were going to get married. And Lola's a little bit more ditzy in that show. And Bugs was like, we're getting married. I don't even know how. It's almost kind of like more sitcom-y type humor than it is Looney Tune humor. But he's like, we're getting married. I don't even know how it happened. It just, we went on a few dates and now we're about to get married. I'm confused, you know? And then, like, Pepe Le Pew's like the wedding planner, and then he's just pepping it up, and then right before they're about to get married, like Lola's like, I'm sorry, I gotta go with Pepe. I just gotta go. I feel like there's a stronger connection with Pepe, and he's just laying there. He's like, it's like 17th time is a charm or something like that. So,
see, poor Pepe Le Pew. It's just so sad.
I think there's a lost opportunity to do that. Like you could have. Apparently, there was a deleted scene where I don't remember where they're at, but he hits on a woman, and they say, "Hey, Pepe, you can't do it like that. That's not how you." But I honestly think there's another way of doing it where in the world of Looney Tunes, he's Me Too'd and he wants to talk to women, but he just can't.
Yeah, like, he just utilizes as a joke, almost playing on how stupid all this stuff is becoming. Yeah, that'd
or
be
more of
funny.
Just he walks in like he's like already like and Pepe Le Pew, and it's like oh the whole audience dies down. Like it was a long time ago, guys. It was a long time ago. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I almost kind of like that they don't reference it, but I think it's stupid to fucking pull that shit out, like, in there. It's like one of those ones, like, those are just those small things where it's just like, it's that thing that people just can't separate, like, characters and, like, have them, I don't know, just that kind of stuff, just, like, one of those ones, like, what we want, arranged marriages again? Like, where are you fucking getting with this stuff? You know what I mean? Shit, it's a fucking cartoon character that likes to flirt, like, I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like Johnny Bravo, you know what I mean?
Going off on that, I want to actually, this still stays in the realm of Looney Tunes, but it also speaks on something else that wasn't in this movie. I'm not disappointed, but I'm just kind of curious because it happens everywhere and everything else just about. Bugs Bunny at no point wore dressed and made out with a dude. Did not happen at any point in this movie. Which, first, that's the way how he says hello to Michael Jordan in the first Space Jam.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering like how that even got the ball rolling back in the 40s or 50s, whenever Bugs Bunny first got created. I think it was 47 or 40-something when he first got created, where he's like, how'd that get fly? Like, that's where he kisses another guy. Like, why is he kissing another guy? He's like, oh, because it's funny, you know? But it's like some dude just kind of forcing his, like, trying to secretly get his fetish in there, you know? Wouldn't it be just funny if he just, like, kissed another, if he put up a dress and just made out with another guy? Like, I guess, you know?
It just goes to show people were more open-minded back then, and people just didn't bitch things out as often, probably. I think it's fun back then. It's a rabbit kissing another guy. It's just that weird, like, grandpa humor, I think, that, like, almost sounds kind of weird, like, grandpa, it's two dudes kissing. Yeah, it's fucking funny, isn't it, though?
But don't do it in real life.
It's just like the war. I mean, you know, you don't do it once you're out, but...
How do you think we lured so many Nazis?
Yeah, true. Yeah. You know, I feel like it's more like one of those... I feel like nowadays that they just didn't want to do it because that's also another one of those ones where, like, people start taking things like that in, like, weird ways and making shit up. They're like, oh... You know, like Bugs now is like a trans character or something like that. It's like, no, I think he just likes dressing up and he's fucking weird. He does shit. You know what I mean? Like everything has to be like people start like attaching it to like other stuff when it's like that's not what anybody was probably thinking when they were making it. It was just a funny bit. Like
Bugs is like, any hole will do.
Yeah, it's just that thing where like. I don't know. Sometimes I think when people sit down and try to question comedy too much, it's like, okay, you obviously don't get comedy if you're questioning it that much. You know, just fucking laugh and shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. And I guess especially if it's people who didn't really grow up with it, now there's not really, they don't have that investment to the characters. They have trouble looking past some of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just surface level. But I mean, this movie, all that stuff being said, when they actually have the game, because I'll be honest, like the beginning I was into. When they start world hopping, I was like, I like this, but you know, I kind of wish that they were more like the DC segment or the Mad Max segment, as short as that was. You know, just because I thought those ones were handled well. Mm-hmm. But then once they get to the game itself, I was pretty into it. What'd you think of the new team, the goon squad instead of the Monstars?
You know, that one's not too bad. I mean, that's one of those ones probably, once again, if you watch basketball and you know who these characters sort of are, like, that definitely brings out, it's like, you know, they're like, okay, well, that one's not Charles Barkley, that's not Dennis Rodman, okay. Well, I don't know who any of these people are, you know, but it's one of those ones where it is kind of like, I thought they were actually kind of neat. I mean, there's a couple of them that seem kind of like, almost, I will say it sounds kind of weird, but that almost feels like the part where it's not bad, but like compared to everything else in there, that's almost the part that's a little bit more generic, because that always seems like, oh, okay, well, how are we going to combine these characters? Half animal, half, human and so on like that, and that's kind of where it is. And I'm not saying that's like necessarily a bad thing, because that's almost kind of like an old-fashioned way to sort of create other characters. But I almost kind of was wondering if those characters were going to be morphed with something else. I didn't know what. If they were going to... Because, it would seem kind of weird that this little kid'd be like, okay, we're going to get all the villains on our team, and, like, the kid would just be down with it. But I almost kind of wondered if that's what it was going to sort of go with. Like, they were going to morph them with, like, Warner Brothers property villains, maybe?
I was kind of... Well, here's what I already knew that we weren't going to get villains, like Warner Brothers villains on the team. I do appreciate the kid kind of went in, like, unaware, like, not knowing the whole story, and I didn't realize the Hook thing till you brought it up. And I'll say this, I like LeBron's kid way more than Jack from Hook. I like him way more. Jack, I'm like, dude, get over your shit,
Yeah, well, because, like, at least LeBron's kid, he's not like a little bitch. It's just one of those ones. He just wants his dad to be like into the things he's into. So that's not asking a whole lot. He's not like, Daddy's never there for me. It's like, yeah, because Daddy's fucking working. How do you think we get to fucking fly to London to go fucking hang out with the real fucking Wendy? Who else fucking does that?
Exactly. And this, it's like, this kid, I thought the kid was pretty good in this, and both the acting and the character was fine. I kind of understood why he was there. He didn't understand the whole story. He wasn't there to hear the circumstances, and he just gets teleported there. So he assumes they're just playing a game. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing with the Goon Squad, I get why they kind of went the way they did. I don't really watch basketball, so I mean, I'll watch, if there's a good game, like if it's like the Warriors are there and I'm with other people and they want to watch it, I'll check it out. But beyond that, though, I didn't really have any real association with this team. So for basketball fans, I get that. But part of me, the film fan of me, was like, I think it's kind of a lost opportunity to do, like, all right, they got Agent Smith, they got Pennywise, they got, maybe Doomsday or something. It's just kind of...
That's what I was thinking, too, is I felt like that's where they should have put that stuff in there. And maybe the kids started going, that seems kind of weird. Why are we using the villains and so on? And then maybe Don Cheadle has a speech where he's like, oh, no, it's not that they're villains. It's just we need their strength and their skills and their, intelligence. And, he kind of names it off more like that, and sort of, but maybe that kind of puts, like, the first, like, questioning into the kid's mind, but not so much so that he doesn't think too hard into it yet,
Mm-hmm, yeah, but, I mean, I understand why they did what they did, because like we got to put something in there for the basketball fans aside from movie fans.
Yeah, well, it also is, that's where I felt like, once again, you still use the basketball characters. I'm not saying you get rid of that, but instead of having the animal parts, you combine them together that way.
The ones that I thought, because I just thought it was an interesting, I mean, there's the snake lady, which was just kind of, all right, she's a snake lady, all right.
Yeah.
But the one that I thought was cool, I'm like, oh, I never thought of it that way, was the water guy. Because the idea he'd be dribbling and he just run right past somebody, and then you like go like slosh, turn the water, go beneath him, make him slip, and then turn back into the basket, turn back into his human form again, and keep dribbling. Like, oh, that's actually kind of a cool idea. So yeah. I thought he was cool. The spider lady was interesting enough. Aside from those two, I was kind of like whatever about
the Kronos
their design. Yeah, that's a cool concept, but it almost seems like too powerful, really, to you. And when they knock him out of the way, I'm like, well, that was easy,
Yeah, exactly. So you got that and so on. And yeah, overall, those are all kind of neat. I do like how the Monstars are actually there, too, in cameo.
Oh, yeah, I was glad to see them. Like, I guess that's the other thing with the Monstars, though, because the Monstars, they're there throughout the whole movie of the first one. So it's like, we get to know them, and even though they are these big, scary brutes on the court, they're actually, like... whether you find them funny or not, they at least all had personalities. Mm-hmm. Where these things, they're just meant to be, like, intimidating and sneering at you the whole time.
Yeah, it's almost like that. They probably could have, maybe used those villains and sort of worked them in there just a little bit more. Kind of develop them, the characters. I don't know. I mean, I once again, that's one of those ones, like that's like a very minor complaint, I guess it's not even really a complaint, but it's a minor kind of thing I just kind of noticed. But, yeah, no, overall, that still was kind of neat. And just, the basketball game's actually quite long in this one. Because I remember when I started the movie, it was like 2 hours long. Like, holy shit, I was expecting like an hour and a half jam, and it was just like one of those ones like, oh. And that basketball game's almost like 45 minutes or 50 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, that's like almost half the movie, which when we were getting to the basketball game, like, this is going to be pretty short, I guess, because the movie's, like, this can't be... Oh, there's another, like, 45 minutes left. Okay, cool. Because I was like, it was going to be the last 20 minutes of the game. Like, no, it's basketball game is probably, some people say that's chaotic and hard to follow. I thought the basketball game was definitely the best part of the movie. So,
yeah, no,
yeah.
it's one of the ones. I mean, I totally, as I said, I was distracted for like the longest while just looking in the backgrounds and stuff and seeing like what characters there was and so on like that, and just seeing all like the little minor details and what have you, which was just kind of fun. I mean, I know that's that kind of cheap way of like Easter egging and so on, but I don't think it's really necessarily a bad thing,
I saw Trinity in the background, like, woo, like jacking her arm in the eye, like, yeah. I thought it'd be funny if she just stand there, like, stone face, like, oh, the Matrix character, like, I just wanted a little funny bit of detail. If, like, while everybody else is, like, waving their arms around, like, you could see Matrix characters just stand there, stone face, not moving.
Yeah, exactly, just not cheering and so on, and then, there was, like, one that was kind of, like, a cameo that kind of came in there that was pretty hilarious how they sort of did it when it's like once they're halfway through the game and like they totally lost and so on like that, and they're like, oh, you know what, we're calling in, guess who was in the audience, we got Michael Jordan, and they start playing the Michael Jordan Bulls theme or whatever. I guess it's like, let's be honest, it's the Bulls theme. I like favorite, it's like this, it's not the Michael Jordan theme, it's all our theme, damn it. And you start hearing that and he kind of comes in and so on like that. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, that's Michael B. Jordan and so on like that. It's like, I thought that was a pretty funny kind of little joke there.
That was a good joke, especially since it's like, hi, I don't know basketball, I'm good at acting. I just wanted to say, the cat told me to come down this way, and here I am.
I love how Foghorn Leghorn's like, dude, that's a fucking actor, you you idiot.
Like, for a split second, don't ask me what, I'm 34, and for a minute when, like, Foghorn Leghorn got ejected out of the court, I'm like, Foghorn Leghorn is out of the game. I'm like, oh, they didn't totally get rid of Foghorn Leghorn, did they? Like, I'm 34. It's like, man, I really hope Foghorn Leghorn's... Oh, okay, cool, he's back, all right. Like, I was literally, I'm going to have to take points off this movie if they got rid of him just like that, So,
well, I kid you not, Foghorn Leghorn's probably my favorite Looney Tunes character.
Wile E. Coyote is me. It's like, no, not me. Like, I relate, but I mean, he's my favorite character.
He's my spirit animal character.
God, that's just like, I guess, truth be told, he probably would be Hufflepuff. He just keeps trying, but at the same time,
yeah, but...
I do like him a lot. I just like that character. Probably him, Daffy, Foghorn Leghorn. There's no character I really flat out dislike from the Looney Tunes. Really.
No, I pretty much like everything in there and so on like that. And I'm glad that Foghorn Leghorn quite a bit of parts too. I will say the one thing that is kind of weird in this movie though is there literally is no cameo from any of like the original like actors. There's no Bill Murray in it. There's no of course there's no Michael Jordan. There's no which I kind of wonder if there was gonna be, but then I feel like is Michael Jordan one of those kind of guys to be like, yo, if I'm not top billing, I'm not showing up.
I can see that possibly, or well, he had a cameo in the Back in Action movie, so
yeah, that's kind of weird. I kind of expected him to still show up, anyways, because I even thought that like they might have the Michael B. Jordan joke, and then all of a sudden, just casually, Michael Jordan would have walked in next or something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like almost
or,
like Michael B. Jordan kind of steals
digitized?
the thunder of the entrance, yeah, or something like that. Yeah, or he was digitized in there, or shit. What if he was even? I mean, it sounds kind of weird, but like even like somehow, some way, like Don Cheadle sort of like controls him in a some goofy, weird, villainy way. And
he scanned Michael Jordan. They had to go against Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and in the very end, it's like the last player he brings out, like whatever, is actually Michael Jordan, and that's the face-off between LeBron and Michael. That would have been just kind of an interesting. And it's like it's not technically Michael Jordan; it's Michael Jordan being controlled, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or there's like no Larry Bird in here or anything. I'm like looking for all like my old people. No Charles Barkley.
No Newman.
Yeah, definitely. That's the one thing is just I felt like you couldn't have got just a couple of those guys in here. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I feel like because all those older guys might look at Space Jam and like, oh, that was just kind of one of those movies we sort of did and didn't really know what we were getting into. You know what I mean? I feel like they probably don't have that. Like they're probably like, man, you know what? One of my best movies is like fucking being in Space Jam. But they don't realize at the same time how many like kids pretty much thought that literally is their jam. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in the Last Dance documentary, they really like just kind of brush over it. They mentioned that like, oh yeah, he was filming Space Jam, and while they were filming Space Jam, like they would have like a tent that was basically his Michael Jordan's like his perfect gym, so he could still work out all day, go shoot the movie, come back, work, go to sleep. get up, work out, go shoot the movie, go back, work out, go to sleep. That was basically, they kind of cover that.
Yeah.
And they even like flew out members of the Bulls to practice with him when he wasn't shooting. So, and to use the gym and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and they just kind of brush over that. So I think for all those guys,
for how long that series was, there should have been one full episode because they're all like an hour long each on fucking just Space Jam.
Yeah. It was still a really good documentary, but yeah, no, I was kind of surprised. It's something they just really brush over, and like, we just gotta acknowledge it. We don't want it to go. Yeah, I could see them like, don't ask me that much about Space Jam. I'll give you the bare minimum. I'm tired of talking about fucking Space Jam, because like people who don't even watch basketball know me from Space Jam, and that's all I fucking hear about is Space Jam. He hasn't said that, but I could actually see that though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, what's wrong with having like a secondary like group of fans that come from something completely, you know, in a sense unrelated to like, well, I guess it's still basketball. It's just a different basketball.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I know he said that, but I can just imagine that. But at the same time, that whole thing, like, probably the people involved, because majority of the people in the movie really aren't actors when you think about it. So it was just probably, yeah, it was that thing we did. We got paid and we got out, you know?
Yeah, and I'm thinking that's sort of what it was. Because I like to assume that they probably still tried to ask some of those other guys, and they might have just bypassed on it thinking, oh, whatever, you know. And so on. But like, that's like the only thing kind of missing. There's really not a single cameo of any of the old actors in this one. I feel like for the fact that the movie's based upon cameos, it's kind of weird just not to have that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's also, it's cheaper if we have cameos of people who aren't real and take old movie footage.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Kind of have that kind of stuff. But you know, overall, at the end of the day, I had a good old time with it. I never was bored. You know, it's funny. It's fun. It's got a good story in it and so on like that. You know, even, you know, just throughout the whole thing. Like, you know, it's not like there's no characters in it that you're like, oh, that's fucking kid in here, or this character. You know what I mean? It's not like one of those ones.
Yeah, it was one of those movies where initially coming into the show, I was like, you know, I liked it, and, you know, I still liked it, but at the same time, after having this conversation, I think I like it a little bit more, you know? Mm-hmm. So, I don't think it's going to make my top 10 this year, but it was still a fun movie, and I don't understand where all this... I mean, yeah, the notorious PIG scene is pretty cringy. You could say they're referencing, you know, like the hood, the fucking, like, you know, the hood look that they, because, you know, you'd see like Bugs Bunny and Tasmanian Devil dressed like they're members of NWA or some shit, but at the same time, it's just like, I guess you could say they're referencing that. That scene was still kind of like, are we back in '94?
I was gonna say, that scene seemed like a scene straight out of literally a '90s comedy. You know what I mean? Because that was like when you had the goofy rap, like, you know, scene, or the, you know, it's like those early '90s movies when like every movie ends with like a rap song that like a lot of times describes the movie.
Yeah, I definitely kind of had that vibe to it. So I was like, this seems out of place, or, you know, but yeah. At the same time, like, I could just see it. That idea was probably some old white dude in the room, and he probably looked at the one black dude in the room. I was like, you think that's funny, right? And he just thought, like, I just got that new house in Malibu. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it was one of those ones, like, I feel like that joke, too, is supposed to be, like, a harkening back to, like, a 90s style joke. You know what I mean? Like, because they're like, you know what, we can't probably use this in any modern day movie, but in a movie that's kind of, you know, has a 90s flair to it, is coming from that, like, we could kind of pull one of these jokes, because in a sense, somebody hasn't done one of those jokes in a while, too. It's kind of like the Matrix thing. It's like, once again, you haven't really seen one of those, like, the goofy rap scene in a long while. That used to be such a common one, but...
Yeah, and, you know, so that scene didn't kill it for me, but... At the same time, I still liked the movie. It was a fun time.
Yeah, no, overall, I don't see why. Yeah, if any of those little negative bitches out there want to tell you that it's not good, you slap them upside the fucking head and tell them to get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here, you. We don't need your kind around.
It's time to jam now.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, one of those ones. But yeah, fun stuff. You can go check that out. Go check it out in theaters or on HBO and so on like that. But till then, go to oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comic books like Pizza Boys, old animations, and all that fun stuff. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.